rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh yeah, it's always an honor when you join us here on Rebel Force Radio. So glad to have you back. Great to be back with you for your source for the Force. And that is a responsibility that we do not take lightly here at RFR. Oh yeah. We shoulder the burden so you don't have to. Lots to talk about this week, but really it's a laid-back show. There's lots to review because there's some things that we've backburnered, like Star Wars and pop culture. They've been piling up, so we got a heaping helping of that for you coming up later. Also, some news. James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, he made some headlines with his announcement that he is retiring the role. But is that the end of the voice of Darth Vader? Well, we'll talk about that. Plus, he also had that theater dedicated in his name. The Court Theater over on 48th and Broadway in New York is now the James Earl Jones Theater. Officially, that was unveiled, and it was very cool to see James Earl Jones there to witness that. But everyone's talking about Andor, and if you haven't joined us for the Andor after shows, you really need to. We stream those live on YouTube around 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we have a blast. You know, we watch the episodes, and then we get together, we take calls, we got people chatting, leaving comments, and the conversation is a lot of fun because it's a lot of fresh takes, people just having seen the episode. And, you know, for something like this, that there's a lot of espionage and there's a lot of who could this be and what does this mean, and it's just been tons of fun. So if you haven't had a chance to join us live, we'd love to have you do that. But of course, they are carried on the official Rebel Force Radio podcast feed. They're also available on our YouTube channel. But we're just having a blast. In addition, we'll catch you up on what's going on with RFR on Patreon, and the lead patron over there, the guy that's responsible for nearly all of that content that you enjoy so much, is, of course, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Glad to be back with everyone again this week. After all, there's so much going on Patreon. You're right, Jason. And I wanted to get everyone caught up with all the things that happen there. Great shows dropping all the time, like the Babu Freaks. Hey, which is me in conversation with Chicago area Star Wars fans, the RFR Q&A featuring me talking to RFR VIPs, and weekly RFR early bird releases featuring me and Swank. I guess, yeah, Swank's there too.
Yeah, I do that. I'm around.
You laid it all on me pretty heavy there with the intro, so I just wanted
to, let's face it. I mean, of course, it's a labor of love over there at Patreon, but it is a really great
labor of love.
Yeah, and it's a really fun community of people that they get us. You know, there are people over there on Patreon. So if you like this show and you want to hang out with Star Wars fans that kind of share your same passion, and you also enjoy Rebel Force Radio, you got to check it out. There's some really great things going on over there, exclusive podcasts, as Jimmy was saying. Really great stuff.
Yeah, more than that, though, the community is great. And the community all gets to know each other through RFR get-togethers, either in the Chicago area, sometimes in the Cleveland area, sometimes at a Star Wars celebration convention, or just online. And the VIPs are fantastic. They become personalities, podcast personalities in their own might and own right. As far as the Babu Freaks, they also fall into that category. And everyone knows Tyler Page streaming calls for us each and every week on the the Clem after show.
Oh, is that what we're calling it now?
We have to call it the Clem after show because we can't blow their cover.
Oh, geez.
On the big heist that's going to happen at Aldani, which I predict we'll see.
Hold on, I'm going to have to get all my gold rings on, and kind of pose. What was that that little pose that he does?
I love the pose.
Yeah, that's the Luthen warm up. I think it's very physical.
Warm-up. Every character deserves a warm up, and that's the Luthen warm up. It's spectacular, awesome. I'm loving Andor. I'm all in. I mean, I'm sorry, Clem. I'm all in on Andor though, and of course, people on Patreon who support Rebel Force Radio, they get all of our after shows, all of the weekly shows. They get them first, sometimes like up to 24 hours in advance, and ad free, which is great too. So there's no advertisements on the Patreon feed,
right?
And that's for everyone. And only $1. It takes $1, get you in there, and you're listening. And then you can find tiers that fit your budget or your desire to hear more RFR. And it's just been a spectacular, great ride over there on Patreon with a killer community. And I just want to thank them all and dedicate this episode of Rebel Force Radio to our Patreon supporters.
Yeah, it's really convenient too because they give you you have your own special podcast feed that you can add to your podcatcher, and then you just log in with your Patreon credentials, and it's all right there. You don't have to worry about jumping over to one feed to another feed because, as you say, Jim, if you are a podcast or if you're a Patreon supporter, that's really the only feed that you need. You're going to get everything on there plus the bonus stuff, and as you say, you'll get it early.
Yes, and now that we're back into the post-summer routine and everyone's, for the most part, heading back to the office, part or full-time, and I'll tell you, there's no better way to silent quit your job than with RFR earbuds, going through your earbuds during the work day. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to do it. I'm just trying to be trendy, and I stay on top of the trends, and I talk about what's hot. And what's hot right now is people silent quitting their jobs. So if you're looking to blow off, the work day, sign up for Patreon.
Blow it off with RFR.
Let us. We want to be slackers with you. Take us with you as you slack your way.
Now, of course, we take no responsibility for the consequences that might happen or come after that. We've got some legalese, on the website that states that very clearly.
Not responsible for anything.
Nothing. Not even what we say.
No. No, not even for changing our own underpants. We're not responsible for anything
unless it's me undies.
TMI. Oh yeah, well I can't take them off. That's why. RFR on Patreon. We just want to keep you guys informed and up to date as everything that's going on over there and all the cool stuff we're dropping. We're talking Ash on the Q&As. We are the Babu Freaks. We are joined by our friend Baby Belushi on the latest Babu Freaks. Chris Sorrentino, he sat in on the show, and we reviewed our whole weekend at the Joliet prison, seeing the Blues Brothers there. And me and Eric from Phoenix looked back. Or I'm sorry, me and Ben Stein, our VIP Ben Stein, we looked back at Craig Miller's book, Star Wars Memories, and listened to the 1-800 phone messages that were voiced by characters from Empire Strikes Back, and kids would call that number back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was promoting the upcoming film.
That ushered in a whole era of those hotlines.
It sure did.
That went all the way through the 90s. Really up until cell phones became a thing. Because at that point, you could still charge somebody $2 a minute for the first minute, and then $1 each additional minute. But Star Wars was setting the trend there.
Yeah, pre-internet, people were calling those numbers for everything from the latest sports scores to the weather to the time. At the tone, the time will be 3:30. Beep. Okay, that's flashback. And then, of course, the aforementioned Eric from Phoenix. He was on Q&A recently. We talked about Star Wars Celebration 2 memories. And So that's why I have this photo of myself and the late great Kenny Baker, R2D2, the man inside the can. There he is, Kenny
The man
Baker.
on the can.
No, not on the can.
In the can. Oh, sorry. In the can.
I'm surprised he never used that. That's why I was probably telling him right there in that photo, because we're both cracking up, and I might have said, "Hey, Kenny, you ever think of calling yourself the man in the can?" It's like, "Get out of here, you son of a bitch!" I mean, really, he was such a fun guy.
Oh, he never took himself too seriously, Kenny Baker. He always. But he might have needed to take Star Wars more seriously, because I remember him famously telling us that he thought at one point it had about 5 more years of shelf life.
It might carry on for another 5 years or so.
You remember that? I think Kenny had a few at that point. But he's like, I think it has about 5 more years.
5 more years, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was that was
a while ago.
Conservative too, in his approach, but.
Hey, one last thing about a Patreon I do want to mention is if you go over to our website, it gives you a really nice way to sort of preview what's on Patreon. So all of the Patreon podcast episodes are listed on the website. There's landing pages for each of those. So if you just want to kind of sort of peruse the catalog to see if it's something, if the subject matter is something that would interest you, you can do that right there. You can't listen to the content unless you're a member, but at least you can get a description, you get the album art, so you get a flavor for what is being talked about. So
yeah, it's something I've always been proud about is the community that has always surrounded us over our 16 plus years of Star Wars podcasting, and Patreon is really the best one I think that's ever been. I just love everyone there. I've developed a lot of friendships with the people there, and it's really become something special to me. So I just want to extend in that and try to catch as many Star Wars fans out there listening to the show, because we know you're the type of person who will fit right into the RFR Patreon community. I think anyone would. So
yeah.
Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. That's easy enough to remember. And again, it's a good time all the time. But some people say, Patreon, I have a hang up with them about something or another. Everyone has a hang up.
Uh-huh.
So there's other ways you can support RFR. I mean, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you prefer. That always helps put the podcast out in front of more eyeballs. Same thing with liking and subscribing RFR on YouTube. That's a big deal. Be sure to like or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, especially on Twitter. Things are a little slow over there. I want to start seeing more people go to Twitter. It's a different handle. It's twitter.com/RFR Rebel Force. Twitter.com/RFR Rebel Force. We had the Twitter account Rebel Force Radio at Rebel Force Radio. We had that shut down. That was our call. We had that shut down because someone was squatting on it. I won't say who it was, but you know who you are.
Yeah.
And
you don't want them squatting
too. They were squatting. No, definitely not.
Every once in a while, I'll be honest, I poke in like I'm going to be a new Twitter member and see if that handle is available. We'll put the call out. If you or anyone you know works for Twitter, we'd love to have it back. We know it's not being used, and we have the credentials to show that we are the originators. So you just never know who's listening to this show. If you work for Twitter,
it's weird.
let us know.
It's weird. Somebody snatched that account, and they did nefarious things with it. So we had it shut down.
Yeah.
So there's no rumors about why that thing's closed down. But we're at RFR Rebel Force on Twitter, and it's a hoot, and it's all good over there. And then another way, a great way to help us out here on the show is tell your friends who are Star Wars fans and get them on board, and maybe they'll tell their friends, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Absolutely. So, yeah, help us out. We'd appreciate it. What do you say we do some voicemail?
Let's do it.
All right.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Jimmy. Calvin from Marshallville, Ohio again. I just felt moved to call you guys. I mean, it just hit me out of nowhere, and I'll keep this short, but Andor has made it so much easier to like visualize expanded universe novels. And I don't know if I can give an explanation. It's just has. The police force. We read about things like that. We got Cap. We got the Tap Caps. I've seen the way that people are dressed in this show, and it's almost as if like it's a real life show with infused with Star Wars. We've got the Star Wars doors, and we've got the Star Wars ships, and we've got blasters, but everything else is very, I want to say worldly, and I don't like that they swore. That's my one gripe with the show. But I wanted to express that to somebody, and I figured the Rebel Force Radio family would understand as good as anyone. This show has really helped me visualize what expanded universe novels read like, and it will help me the next time I read one to picture those universes. And I feel like 4 episodes in, and I'm already forever grateful for just that. Like, that in and of itself is enough for me. Love you guys. May the Force be with you, and I can't wait to see this journey through with everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the voicemail. I think I understand what he's saying. Is that, you know, I've always felt, I personally have felt that Star Wars, for me, didn't really translate very well from a audio-visual form into a long prose.
Hold on one second.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
sure.
can, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt
It's okay.
you.
It's all right. What's up?
Hey, Daniel, I'm on the air right now.
Oh, hey. So just want to say to all the listeners, please continue supporting and following the greatest podcast in the world. It's no longer a podcast. It's the only way to listen to the Star Wars chat and bit of Star Wars gossip. Get it here live, Rebel Force Radio.
Well, thanks for the plug, brother.
It's a live liner.
You're welcome. Call me back later. I love you.
I will. Bye. Love you.
Wow, that's great. Daniel Logan with a drop by. An audible drop by. I love it. You never know who's going to be called.
Best. He is the best, man. I love that guy. Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, look, if we're going to be interrupted here, we might as well be interrupted by Star Wars celebrity here. All I was saying was that it's always been a disconnect for me to watch Star Wars be translated into long prose, right? It's always been very quick action, broad strokes. You know, you people have heard it a million times from me before if you've been listening to this podcast for a while. And so translating all of that action into prose, space battles, lightsaber battles, having to read a description of that stuff has always been so laborious to me. However, I can understand how, in the same way that sort of translating the medium from audiovisual to prose is very much, I think, as much of a jolt for some people as it is now, you know, coming off of 2 seasons of Mandalorian where you got Luke Skywalker showing up, Book of Boba Fett, you know, steeped in, eye candy for the nostalgia. And then you get into Kenobi and, oh my God, you can't get much more, you know, canonical and Star Wars heavy as that story. And then all of a sudden you just veer off into this other area that seems very much free and liberated from a lot of that. And so I can understand how that might just be enough of a shake to get people to be able to then imagine, because of this diversion, EU being told visually, because that's kind of what this show feels like.
You know, way back when Phantom Menace was released, a lot of my friends were struggling with the different take on Star Wars. And it was a very different take. You want to talk about Andor being a different take? Geez. The Phantom Menace practically reinvented Star Wars. And so we've been through this before, but I felt like at that time I was more well-suited to accept a different take on Star Wars because I had been following all the expanded universe stories via the comic books and the novels for a solid 8 or 9 years leading up to the release of The Phantom Menace. So I felt like I was a little more open-minded about it. I didn't have Star Wars so just locked down into this little tiny box. I was already looking at a grander, bigger universe, following stories told by different characters, following different characters in different eras. I mean, all kind of radically different experiences within the Star Wars universe when you think about what the original 3 were all about. And then I think the prequels did expand it so much more. And to the point where now people think that's all just regular run-of-the-mill Star Wars. But it was radical. It was a radical departure George Lucas was making from the original trilogy when he released the prequels. So it's not like we've been through this before. Maybe audiences of today have been dumbed down by the... And dumbed down's a bad word to use. But just used to a certain formula of Star Wars since J.J. Abrams interpreted his formula of Star Wars for The Force Awakens, which was to remain. Somebody told me as J.J. was gearing up The Force Awakens production, somebody told me from the inside that J.J. had laid this bit of info on the production staff. He wanted The Force Awakens to feel like you just popped Return of the Jedi out of the VCR. And this was the next tape you were going to pop in. Now, it didn't quite come up like that, you know. I mean, he obviously wanted to use the practical effects. I think that's maybe what he was talking about. But I was so shocked at how he followed A New Hope and all of these beats in A New Hope and just sort of recreated that for The Force Awakens. And then that kind of became sort of like, this is the blueprint for Star Wars now. And it's like, no, the blueprint was expanded so much during the prequel era. And then if you're like me and you're consuming all of those expanded universe books, it's been blown out to a huge proportion. So I don't struggle with Andor like some people might be, because I feel like it is kind of a glimpse at the old expanded universe. It's a bigger, broader universe with other characters doing sometimes really not spectacular things as far as being a chosen one. And chosen one was a concept introduced in the prequels. So, I mean, all of that stuff, I think, yeah, definitely the more Star Wars stories that you've consumed, I believe it makes you more accepting of different takes along the way, because you've conditioned yourself.
You don't have the shock. You don't have the shock. It's not like you're being thrown into the icy water, because you've conditioned yourself, as you say, to kind of see the universe in the galaxy in a different way. And you know, I always thought that really up until, you know, the Disney Plus series, that Mandalorian was probably the thing that painted it for me the most, because it was the first series, and I'm talking about pre Luke and Ahsoka. I'm talking about that early, you know, that first season where it wasn't really in the lore outside of Baby Yoda and potentially being a connection to Yoda. Is what dawned on me was that I wasn't against Star Wars stories being told outside of the, you know, the Skywalker framework, which is what I always thought my hang up was with much of the expanded universe. For me, it's just about those two mediums. It's not, it's because of the way Star Wars stories are told with battles and things like that. I find reading those tedious. Now, give me a book on history, give me a biography, I'll devour it. But reading descriptions of action sequences, lightsaber battles and stuff like that, I can't do it. It's so tedious to me. And then you get into the minutia. And so I'm relieved to know that at least as a fan, I'm open-minded to stories beyond the Skywalker framework. But I still can't get into to reading them. as much as I want to, because I know there's some great stories that are out there. But it's something I can't do. But I will do it. You know, if they serve that up for me, you know, as a mini series or as an animated series or something, I'd be sitting here doing an after show about it.
Sure, of course, because listen, we revere the live action Star Wars. That's where it's at. Everything else is just gravy, you know? That's why I don't get too wound up about it.
Right.
But the live action, that's really the core of Star Wars. And everyone wants to be on board. And everyone has expectations. And I just don't want Andor to alienate the hardcore fans, you know, or any fan who are, you know, I just hated those headlines. Not for the Baby Yoda crowd. What is that? What is that supposed to mean? You know?
Yeah, well, what does that say about the Baby Yoda crowd? What am I if I like Baby Yoda? You know, I don't, yeah, right. I don't want there to be like this sense of superiority from the people that get Andor. Like, yeah, Andor's finally talking to me on my level. You know, I don't need any of that. That the rest of it's all dumbed down for, you know, you plebes.
Good for you, you know? Good for you. Now there's finally a Star Wars that's sharp enough, edgy enough, and intellectual enough to satisfy you.
Yeah.
So that's, hey, more on board, you know, but just don't, you know, defer to the Baby Yoda crowd is some kind of diminished and unevolved animal, you know?
Right.
We're people too.
I was talking to a buddy at work about this today at the day job, and he was saying, well, you know, I loved Rogue One so much because it was sort of like the not Star Wars. And I go, okay, I see that. And then he was talking about, you know, Tony Gilroy and how Gilroy wasn't a born again Star Wars fanatic like JJ, you know, was, and others have purported to be. And he thought that was refreshing and all that. And I go, yeah, that's good. But where does it leave you at the end of Rogue One? He's like, what do you mean? I said, it literally puts you into the original movie. So why are you telling me that it's a not Star Wars? Because at the end of that movie, you are literally crawling inside the original film. And my prediction for Andor is by the end of this series, you will literally be crawling, I believe, into Rogue One, which then crawls into A New Hope. So, and Jim, as we talked about on the after show, look, we dropped a bunch of different names that were mentioned in this, some visuals. We were just talking off air about how many Easter eggs that there were in Luthen's art gallery. And so to say that they're not wanting to tie this in at all, I don't think that's the case. But they are definitely being very restrained about it. I think it's leading somewhere. They're just not going to throw you in to that big galaxy, because Andor himself, the character, you're experiencing it through his eyes. He is also not being bathed in the waters of the Star Wars universe quite yet. He's getting there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's all about him at first, and then the bigger picture is going to open up as he achieves a level higher and higher within the organized rebellion.
Right.
So we're seeing him take his first steps. It's great. I love the Mon Mothma stuff too, because that really ties us into the bigger picture. We were exposed to so much of the Republic and their Senate and all of that stuff. I thought that stuff was intriguing even back in Phantom Menace. And now to see it probably be played out in a much grittier, sharper. I don't think we're going to be seeing ETs floating by in the pod, pumping their fists, you know. I think it's going to be a little more rough and tumble than that.
Yeah.
And I want to see how the new political structure strikes down at Mon Mothma too, because she's foreshadowed that kind of stuff in the show.
Yeah.
So much to look forward to.
I do want to say, look, if the headlines are in any way intimidating you or causing you to sit out of Andor, you owe it to yours. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. I really think you have to watch the first 4 episodes to really you got to get to that 4th episode, really. And there's so much good buildup in the first 3 do yourself a favor, sit down and watch them. I'm not saying that, you're not a fan if you don't like it or any of that BS. I'm just saying, don't sit it out. Give it a try. Because I'm telling you, it's worth it. You may be surprised. And there is a lot of BS going on in the headlines, and everybody's got to be the smartest guy in the room and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But, don't take our word for it. Check it out for yourself is all I'm saying. Think for yourself as a fan.
Yeah. It's new Star Wars. We're obviously going to be talking about it. Sports radio guys, their favorite teams don't make it to the Super Bowl. They don't blow off the Super Bowl and not talk about it.
Yeah, right. We're not covering it this week.
Yeah, just because they don't like the teams involved. So,
right.
And I always love having new Star Wars to talk about, too. And I think this show is, already going to change the way we look at Rogue One. So,
you know what the best part of all this new Star Wars content is that when I head into the palatial Rebel Force Radio studios, I don't hear my wife saying, "What in the world are you guys going to talk about this week?" I haven't heard that forever. Hey, we got time for another voicemail? Let's do it.
Check, boys. Chuck from Oregon calling. And finally watched the third episode of Andor. Third episode all the way through. It's getting good. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. But just a little bit random. I just was thinking, with the Yoda questionnaire, you guys should add favorite ship. Because I don't know about a lot of other fans of the Star Wars, universe, but I do love the ships and the designs. All that stuff is so cool. So, I don't know. Just a suggestion. I'd like to hear, what people's favorite ships are. Be very interesting. You guys have a good one. Looking forward to the next episode.
All right, Jim, I don't know. I appreciate the suggestion, but I think he might be under the impression that we created the Yoda questionnaire. And that Yoda questionnaire, we don't call it the Yoda questionnaire for no reason. We call it the Yoda questionnaire because those questions came to us from the Jedi Master himself via fax on Dagobah. So to amend it, to append it, I think we would have to convene multiple councils. I think we'd have to convene the Jedi Council. Maybe even the Babu Freaks would have to get together and make a determination as to whether this question could be added. Yoda is now one with the Force. I don't have those powers to commune with him, and I don't think he would take my call, even if I did. So should we have a question that is sort of like, what is your favorite vehicle in the Star Wars universe?
I like that so much better because ever since Yoda wrote the Yoda questionnaire, and by the way, folks, he did it 400 years ago, okay? Yeah. Ever since he wrote that, discourse in Star Wars has changed so much. So if you ask someone what their favorite ship is, they might say Reylo. No. You're misinterpreting. You're misinterpreting this. Yes, vehicle. I like that. Vehicle. I like saying it. Vehicle.
Vehicle.
That's a forgotten H in the word because I just say vehicle.
If you were to pilot, drive, or steer a vehicle in the Star Wars universe, what would you like it to be? It'd be something like that.
Wait, what?
I said if you were to pilot, drive, or steer, we got to, you steer some, you pilot some, you drive others, because we're talking about vehicles.
What is your favorite Star Wars vehicle? Sandcrawler. Boom. Next question. Oh, nobody's ever said Sandcrawler before. Well, you must be a big Jawa fan. Right. See, I'm just practicing.
Okay, all right. I still think that we need to take this before the council. We can't just rubber stamp this.
No.
Especially
since that Yoda can come back as a Force spirit,
Right.
Swank, what are you doing to the Yoda question? I told you not to change it. No revisions.
What's going on with the Yoda accent there? What's with I told you? What is he spending too much time with Qui-Gon? He's getting some of that Irish going on?
No. Plo Koon and I went to go. Stop laughing. No, Plo Koon and I saw Jimi Hendrix in concert last night.
Oh, wow, man. That must have been a trip.
Yes, well, it was the spirit of Jimi Hendrix.
Well, I assume so.
We get awesome concerts in the Force Never world. Ultimate bands with John Bonham on drums.
All right,
Jimi Hendrix on lead guitar and John Lennon on lead vocal. Awesome show, dude.
Wow. Well, Master Yoda, it's an honor to have you here. While we have you here, we might as well ask. We had a request from an RFR listener to append your great questionnaire that you wrote and faxed some 400 years ago. I don't know how that was possible, but you know, the Force works in mysterious ways. But he would like to append your questionnaire to include a question about a favorite vehicle. Can we ask what your favorite vehicle is in the Star Wars universe? He's deep in thought.
Okay, it is to include the new question in my questionnaire, but you must word it specifically. Do not ask what their favorite ship is. Raylo, they will say.
Okay, not ship. Vehicle. Okay, vehicle. Your favorite. Okay, all right. Very pensive, Yoda.
Yes. Out of here, I will go.
Oh.
Farewell, Swank.
Oh,
Farewell.
Look at him there. He disappears. Oh my God, Jim, did you see that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I did. I was so shocked that I couldn't even say anything. I sort of just froze because I've never seen a Force ghost like that in person before.
Wow.
That was pretty
that's
impressive.
intense. All right. So from this day forward, the Yoda questionnaire shall include your favorite Star Wars vehicle.
Vehicle.
All right. Well, good. Thanks for the question. That's great.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And we were able to take care of show business here during the show itself. So thank you, everyone. That's typically how it goes. Me and Jason just start talking about stuff, and the spirit of Yoda appears. And, he says,
on Spotify, you will be.
And then the next thing you know.
Hello, this is Warwick Davis, and you're listening to Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force.
Let's see what's going on in the news.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right. Some sad news, but I guess not too unexpected. James Earl Jones, the venerable voice of multiple generations now. I mean, everything, of course, from Dark Lord Darth Vader to This Is CNN to The Lion King, Mufasa.
Yeah.
The total package when it comes to acting. He conquered television, major motion pictures, the Broadway stage. As I said at the top of the show, was just awarded or given the honor of having a stage, a whole theater, a Broadway theater named after him, the Court Theater where he made his Broadway debut many decades ago, 91 years young. But for Star Wars fans, this one stung a little bit. It was just so final when we saw the headlines, James Earl Jones retires from voicing Darth Vader. And, when I first saw the headline, Jim, I was like, oh no, who are we gonna have? What's gonna be? And then I was remembering that we speculated that it was largely probably Reese Beecher that was responsible for most of the voiceover work for Vader in the Kenobi series, and it was done phenomenally. So what this sounds like is that James Earl Jones has given Lucasfilm the license to his voice, just like you would license a likeness. He has licensed his voice to Lucasfilm and this Reese Beecher so that it can be used, I think, in perpetuity.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
is
crazy,
isn't it?
We are living in the future. And now people like James Earl Jones are taking steps forward to make himself live on. His voice will live on. He's immortal. He is immortal now. And this is a really great. I mean, I guess all of our favorite actors and performers have always had a certain level of immortality because, we can go and pop in a DVD or a Blu-ray and watch, Frank Sinatra or Jimi Hendrix, Yoda's favorite. We can watch those guys in concert still to this day. But I mean, that's one level of it. But now to be able to continue your acting career in your, James Earl Jones, I think he's like 91 years old. So yeah. So I think he's retired from just about everything, except for, enjoying a quality of life that he richly deserves, but he doesn't need to work anymore. And now the technology is there. If the technology never showed up, James might have said, yes, let's continue doing Darth Vader forever, as long as forever lasts for me. But now there's this AI technology. We've talked about it here on the show. It made its debut in Star Wars when Mark Hamill returned to the role of Luke Skywalker in the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. And that was amazing. It is a Ukraine-based company, and there's a great article about them in Vanity Fair, and they tell stories about hiding out in basements with the windows all blocked by mattresses, and they're sitting there and they're using their laptop to work on the Kenobi show and give Darth Vader his dialogue. Really amazing, man. Really, really amazing. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what we were speculating. Darth Vader sounded like 1977 James Earl Jones in Kenobi, and it was great. It was pretty effective. I think it was executed, it's hard to say perfectly, but
pretty perfectly
uncanny sounding replication. And I can't, and technology has been moving in this direction for years and years and years. And the reason it probably hasn't evolved quicker is because there's been a lot of legal issues regarding the use of this technology. I mean, think about how dangerous it is. All of these hours of Rebel Force Radio that we've recorded, people can take these recordings, plug it into a computer, and we can continue doing this podcast for years and years and years. Like Tyler Page will be typing away. Well, I think Jimmy would say this. And then,
Jason, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. And our children will be like, no, my dad would say this, and they type in, and I'm still frosted about the time that my dad grounded me and I had to miss that concert. I'm gonna make him say this. Oh no. Meanwhile, spinning in his grave. But still, it's a really wild technology. And,
it's crazy.
It's going to keep Darth Vader alive and legitimate with the James Earl Jones voice. Out, James, he retired from the role for quite a long time. I mean, he came back for Revenge of the Sith. No!
Yes.
But then he kind of tapped out and wasn't really present. And a voice actor named Matt Sloan, aka Chad Vader, a guy who was a YouTuber, he created this like Darth Vader wacky videos. But what was amazing about Matt is he had this incredible ability to really do a very beyond serviceable impersonation of James Earl Jones as Darth Vader. He was just great. And you can still see his videos. I'm sure they're still on YouTube and whatnot. He
Chad really nailed the phrasing in particular.
Yes.
The cadence of the voice. Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And even James Earl Jones to this day cannot match that cadence.
No.
That he had in 1977, nor can he resemble anything close to the bass he used to get.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's almost, it's almost natural that he moves on from the role at this point. The technology can take over. He really can't do it the way he could. I mean, like I said, he is 90. I would take his 90-year-old Darth Vader over anybody else.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of melancholy, I guess. The thing, nothing will last forever, and James Earl Jones won't continue to do the role. He did come back then, I think, for Star Wars Rebels was his big return, and then he revoiced the character again in Rogue One, and I think he was in the VR series Vader Immortal, and that's gonna be it. He's hanging it up. So this article about Respeecher and Vanity Fair featured a paragraph that was quite revealing. And they have quotes here from our buddy Matthew Wood at Skywalker Sound. And he was talking about the last time he recorded James Earl Jones to voice Vader was for The Rise of Skywalker. Vader has a couple little lines in there. He talks to Kylo at the very beginning when Palpatine reveals it was him all the time behind the voices in your head and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And at that time, when they were recording James Earl Jones, he had mentioned to Matt that he was looking into winding down his work on Darth Vader. And Matt was like, well, how are we going to move forward? And then the Respeecher technology became available, and Matt was able to take some recordings and replicate a younger sounding James Earl Jones voicing Vader in 1977. And it sounded good to James Earl Jones. And so a deal was made between James and Lucasfilm, and he signed over the rights to use his voice. And the cool thing about it is that they are still claiming that they're keeping in touch with James and letting him know about what their plans are for Vader and heeding his advice on how to stay on the right course for the character. And if I know Matt Wood the way I think I know him, I believe there's a lot of integrity behind him saying that he's going to look at James Earl Jones as a benevolent godfather anytime he works on giving that character voice from now on. And why not,
Yeah.
Well, just tell him to do whatever he wants with it.
It sounds great. It sounds great. Fantastic.
He's got a tall, cool lemonade. He's outside in the lounge chair. I'm sure what he likes is good. But so, yeah, James Earl Jones got me thinking a lot about James and just some of the pop culture references to him as Darth Vader and some of the fun audio that we've played on the show over the years. So I put together a little audio tribute to James Earl Jones. Yes, an audio tribute to James Earl Jones. And we're going to start off with something we recently played on the show when we were looking back, doing our retrospective at all of the Star Wars references on that 70s show when Topher Grace was on the air. This is Kitty and Red. They finally go off to see Star Wars, and Kitty hears a familiar voice.
That voice. James Earl Jones.
Eric actually liked this. That kid's on dope.
So she recognized the voice, but really, I think most audiences in 1977 were a little bit, they weren't sure, because James Earl Jones didn't get credited for his voice. He did the role uncredited in both Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. He didn't get credit on screen until Return of the Jedi. By then, we all knew. But to me, it wasn't like that recognizable in the 70s because James Earl Jones wasn't like an A-list actor, or he wasn't really the icon that he became later in his career. He was the voice of Darth Vader as far as a lot of people were concerned. Now, I know, Jason, you talk about his theater background and all that stuff. But
he was not a household name. He wasn't a household name. He was
exactamundo.
Yeah.
So I was in totally just not aware of James Earl Jones outside of his work as Darth Vader.
I think he was in Roots. Wasn't he in Roots?
I think he was in one of the spin-offs.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he was in the original, but I might be wrong about that. But he was doing things like that, TV miniseries, and he was never like the lead actor in anything. But
no, in fact, probably one of his most recognizable on-screen roles would be Field of Dreams, which came out
and that came
years
much
after
later.
Star Wars. Yeah,
Years
exactly.
And that's by that time he had become something of a cultural icon.
Right.
But I mean, he was just like starring alongside Billy D. Williams and Richard Pryor and Bingo Long and the Baseball All-Stars or whatever that movie was. Funky supporting actor roles, television stuff. But I mean, really not that like recognizable.
Right.
Not like, but Kitty was a big fan. Kitty Foreman was a huge fan and knew that voice right away.
James Earl Jones.
The voice is so iconic. You know all the lines from the films, especially in that original one. And I listened to him really closely. And I remember it was like 12 years ago. I was watching a sequence when in A New Hope, when Vader goes into a form General Tarkin that Kenobi could be aboard the Death Star. And, that scene, he walks in on Tarkin. He's in the conference room by himself and everything. He is here.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, for as diligent as the audio editors have been in all of these years with Star Wars, with the remixes and everything, in this sequence, you can hear James Earl Jones taking a breath between sentences. And I've not caught this in any other Darth Vader scenes from the original trilogy. Only this one scene, because everyone knows Darth Vader has mechanical breathing.
Right.
He is assisted by, he's walking around in an iron lung. And everyone knows that. Even people who haven't seen Star Wars know that. Ring any bells? So I caught this years ago. And I brought it up on this show. And I was reminded of it when I was putting this James Earl Jones tribute together. And I said, well, Star Wars has gone through probably more remixing for the Blu-ray and the Disney Plus release with the famous inclusion of the McClunky. I mean, have they ever cleaned up this? And I looked so I went to Disney Plus for the latest edit of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I found out that this James Earl Jones breath is still
it's
coming
still
out
there.
of Vader's mask. It's still there. So here it is. Here's the clip. You know the scene.
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
Did you
let's
hear
it again. Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, let's hear it again.
Right after he says Force.
Tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
A tremor.
Even
in the
after
Force.
that.
Yeah.
When he pauses the second time, he takes a breath as well, but it's not as prevalent as that first breath.
Yeah.
So the iron lung needs to get recharged or something because it's not doing its job. But that's it. Play it one more time. I isolated it.
Force. The last.
You see?
Force. The last. Force. The last.
Force.
I love weird stuff like that.
Force.
Force. The last.
And speaking of Matthew, I'm gonna say Matthew because I'm serious. Matthew, I brought this up on the podcast like a dozen years ago, and it's still there. Matthew.
Force. The last.
That's great.
So James Earl Jones, obviously, throughout his career, he starts to get, more well-known after Star Wars. It was a few years after Star Wars. Of course, the CNN voice.
Yep.
And The Lion King in the late 80s. But then on-screen appearances in movies like Coming to America with Eddie Murphy and Field of Dreams, of course. What am I leaving out? I'm leaving out something big. But those are the ones that really made an impression on me as far as seeing James Earl Jones on the screen. Oh, he was showing up at Patriot games.
Oh, right. He was Jack Ryan's boss.
Right. In all of those
movies. Yeah.
Movies. Yeah. So he was a recurring character in that. And I thought he was really funny in the Coming to America. That was
he's fantastic.
So he's becoming more and more iconic, and everyone knows the voice of Darth Vader. So James Earl Jones is sitting at home with his favorite technology for communication, and he's messing with people, most notably truckers. He tells us to Craig Ferguson.
I used to use a CB radio, and I used Darth Vader as my handle.
Did you really?
Freak people out.
Oh, Benedict, yeah.
I had to stop doing that.
Oh, no, you should do it more often.
Truckers would just freak out, and I stopped doing it.
Well, a lot of the
because it sounded like Darth Vader.
Well, it is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It is Darth. It's you did the voice of Darth Vader. It's Darth Vader.
That is funny that you play that clip, because I remember seeing James Earl Jones as a kid on a talk show, and I think it might have been David Letterman years ago. And he told a story about coming to the aid of a stranded truck driver who had, lost a wheel or had a breakdown. And he was driving, I believe, a pickup truck at the time, James Earl Jones. And so he pulls up, it's at night. He's got the lights on, he's flashing the lights, and he grabs the CB. And at this point, you could actually you could have an external speaker coming out of the vehicle so you could talk. That, this is Darth Vader coming to your assistance. If we could dig up that clip, that would be great. It was many years ago. But yeah, so it's funny to hear that being kind of told again. One of those childhood memories. Like, did I dream that? No, I must not have. Because there's Craig Ferguson talking about it.
I love David Letterman. He was my favorite talk show host. But, James Earl Jones appeared on lots of talk shows throughout his career and landed on the Gayle King Show. And this is from a few years back. And now we're getting into some classic Rebel Force Radio territory here. This is James Earl Jones appearing on the Gayle King Show. Gayle King knowing exactly how iconic the voice is and exactly who's sitting in front of her, and she decides to have a little fun by giving James Earl Jones some Justin Bieber lyrics to read. So let's hear James Earl Jones recite baby, 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 baby.
I love people who've never seen Star Wars.
I know,
I've never heard Justin Bieber. But here I go.
Okay.
Are we an item, girl? Quit playing. We're just friends. What are you saying? Said there's another, looked right in my eyes. My first love broke my heart for the first time. And I was like, baby, 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 oh. Like baby, 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 no. Like baby, 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 oh. I thought you'd always be mine, mine.
So there they are, exploiting James Earl Jones to make him read crappy pop lyrics by
how dare they?
Justin Bieber. But we had to have fun with it, of course. So the first thing we did was we said to ourselves, well, what would it be like if Justin Bieber went out on tour and James Earl Jones appeared on stage to sing Baby, 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 Oh with him? And this is a little sample of what that might have sounded.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh. Like baby, 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 no. Like baby, 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 oh. I thought you'd always be mine, mine.
Okay, all right.
I
could see them,
have a second career. It's a backup singer.
Bust up the charts with Justin Bieber. Take that duo on the road. I would get front row tickets. I don't care what they're asking for, but I'd be back. There was this app that was floating around out there a long time ago. It's no longer available. It's currently not being developed, but it was called Vaderize Yourself. And with this app, you would talk into your phone, and then the app would play back what you would sound like if you were actually Darth Vader. So it was kind of hit or miss, but we had a lot of fun putting samples into that thing for a long period of time until we just got bored with it. But here's a recording of James Earl Jones reciting the Justin Bieber lyrics on the Gayle King Show, Vaderized.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh. Like baby, 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 no. Like baby, 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 oh. I thought you'd always be mine.
Can you imagine him walking into the conference room as Tarkin sitting there and he just unleashes those lyrics on him?
Well,
Lord Vader,
Well, the next time you see a comic book frame of him looking at a photo or a hologram of Padme, you know what he's thinking.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh, like baby, baby, baby,
Lord
no.
Vader.
Like
Of course,
baby.
now it would be Lord.
Baby, 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 no!
All right, Swank, cut 8. Go ahead, play it.
I'm sorry.
Play
It's
it.
been a long time since I heard these.
Just play it.
All right.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh, like baby, 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 no.
Oh, I scooped myself. Oh, man.
So that Vaderized.
Wow. We got a lot of mileage out of this, didn't we? This Gail King bit.
Oh, God, yeah. It was a classic. And the Vaderize Yourself app.
Yeah.
And sometime around this time period, James Earl Jones, being the prolific actor he is, he appeared on the Fox show House. Do you remember House?
Oh,
Jason?
yeah, right.
House.
Hugh
So,
Laurie.
I have no context for this, but apparently I Vaderized the crap out of this clip.
Vaderized the crap out of it.
You said that you were preparing a massacre.
What are you going to do about that?
In my world, there are dangers and bloodshed and death. And that makes you a man. And men make choices.
Your choice is to send bands of drunk, crazed children to massacre an entire people.
Don't ask me questions you don't want to know the answer to.
I deserve to know what you're planning to do.
Whatever it takes to protect my country.
Wow, man. That's heavy. That feels like real Star Wars dialogue. That could be the next Disney Plus show. Right there.
The sabers kind of push it over the top.
Yeah, they help.
There was no saber duel on that episode of House. That was a fabrication created in the studio where
that was a Jimmy Mack indulgence, is what it was.
This is another RFR Jimmy Mack indulgence. All right, well, here's the last one. This doesn't feature the great actor James Earl Jones, but it's a reference to him in Jason's favorite show of all time, Glee. Here we're going to listen to a clip from Glee. I don't know the context within it, but it is probably one of the funniest pieces of audio you're going to hear on this episode of RFR.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. It's my James Earl Jones impression.
First of all, that is offensive. He shot Martin Luther King.
Ron James Earl.
Man. Ron James Earl.
Good Lord. That one gave me a big laugh. And apparently the high school where Glee takes place, they really need to work on their American history and get that department up to speed, because apparently the students there, they're throwing the great James Earl Jones under the bus when I think they're
I hate to tell
James
you,
Earl Ray.
Yeah, I hate to tell you that the high school was supposed to take place in Lima, Ohio. So not too far from where I am, as a matter of fact.
What's the name of that town?
Lima.
I don't know anything. I don't watch Glee. I never saw a single episode.
Except when there were Star Wars references.
Well, of course.
Because they did the holiday special. Remember that? They did a mashup of the holiday special. Yeah,
that was fabulous. Hey, I've been talking to our friend Stephen Kozak, who's working with Kyle Newman and Adam Goldberg on that holiday special documentary.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had a great time talking to Stephen on RFR. He's a TV historian. His father worked in the industry for many, many years, and during that great variety era.
Yeah. And so Steven's carrying on, walking in his father's footsteps, and he's working on the Jimmy Kimmel Show now. So, and he's been there for a while, and he's doing this holiday special documentary in his spare time. And so I've been talking him up a little bit, giving him some lowdown, some deets about the holiday special, and a lot of encouragement too. And, trying to pump him up, keep him going, and get this thing done, because it's going to be a great documentary. The people he has talked to and interviewed for this thing, it's just off the charts. So we'll catch up with Steven probably when we get a little closer to Life Day in November, so a few weeks, got to burn through some Andor here in the meantime. But Steven Kozak will be joining us to give us an update on the documentary about the holiday special he's putting together. Yeah.
I got a question. I meant to bring this up on the after show, the Andor after show this week, but you brought up the holiday special. You brought up Life Day. There's a reference in Andor when Mon Mothma is in Luthen's gallery and she's shopping for her husband, Perrin. She says it's his day of days.
Day of days.
His day of days, which I'm assuming is the Star Wars equivalent to birthday.
I guess
But the lyrics to the Life Day song that Leia sings are, "We celebrate this day of days."
What?
So
my eyes jump out of my head.
This is a real reference to the holiday special in canonical Star Wars, I think.
Another borderline reference might have come in the moments when Marva goes into Cassian's room. Remember?
Yes.
And she's kind of scanning across the countertop, and you see there's a stuffed Bantha toy sitting on the counter.
Right.
Lumpy, Chewbacca's son, had the very same Bantha, and it was beheaded by a stormtrooper as they ransacked the Chewbacca family house. Yes.
Yeah, and he has that scene where he's real sad and he's kind of letting out those little Wookiee growls. He kind of picks up the two halves.
Oh, it's so sad. And he puts the one half under the blanket and he puts the head on top and he kisses it.
Oh, God.
I just feel so much Wookiee pain when I see that. So, but that was always kind of a standout moment for me in the old holiday special. And during those years when it wasn't accessible via old VHS or YouTube or whatever, I would think back to that thing kind of like it was some sort of fever dream. And I would remember that sequence where he puts the Bantha head on top of the dismembered Bantha head is returned to its rightful place.
It's so sad. And of course, as a kid, that's the scene that you remember because it was, kids always remember scenes where other kids are having some sort of trauma or whatever. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, and his toy got trashed, just like underscoring how evil the Empire is. You're gonna just go into a kid's room and trash his toys and behead his stuffed animal. What's the matter with you? What kind of civilization are we living in?
They're jerks. We're living in a society.
They really blow.
All right, how about some Star Wars and pop culture? What do you say?
Yes.
Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody. Wow, what a way to kick Star Wars in pop culture off this week. A couple weeks ago, we were treated by Topher Grace, the star of Home Economics on ABC. He was in the Cantina. We were talking about that 70s show and its long history of Star Wars moments. They've been featured very heavily on Star Wars and pop culture. And before we got on the air, I asked Mac, I said, was there ever did you find any Home Economics Star Wars references? He's like, I don't think there has been one. I looked, I don't think there's been one. I'd have known about it because Wendy and Michael watched the show and
religiously.
Yeah. So they've never alerted you to it. And so we actually got to ask Topher himself. And it was like, I'm glad you asked because our whole premiere of this season is one big Star Wars reference. So
surprise.
Yeah, so it was a great interview, a lot of fun with Topher. That interview is available over on our YouTube channel, and it's in the last regular RFR, I believe. It's when that interview happened. So check that out. But Jim, we've got a follow up here with the episode actually aired.
Yeah, it did. You can find it on Hulu now. It's called Mickey Mouse Ears, $19.99. $19.99, I should say. And it's if you're a fan of the Disney parks, you're going to love this episode. Now, it's not uncommon for ABC sitcoms to pay a visit to the Disney parks. You know, I remember when Roseanne went to Disneyland. It's been going on for so long, you know, and that was like 25 years ago. But now Home Economics goes to Disneyland, and they go to Galaxy's Edge, which is great because Topher in real life and his character on Home Economics, huge Star Wars fans. And so he's having the time of his life. He's running around Galaxy's Edge in front of the Millennium Falcon. He's got a lightsaber. He sees R2. He sees Chewie. And he's just, selfies like crazy. But his brother, and Topher told us about this sequence, his brother had some info that he was going to lay on him. Topher's character is he is a novelist. He's a writer, and he is working with a publisher who's giving him a real hard time. And it's a publisher he's always worked with, but they changed ownership recently, and the new ownership is making things a little difficult. What Topher doesn't realize is his brother, his rich brother, is the guy who bought the publishing company, and he did it only so he could release Topher's book, which I guess the publishing company was going to scrap or something. I don't know. Home Economics canon, you know. But
not up on the lore.
Nah. But they go to Galaxy's Edge because he wants to break the news to Topher that he is the new owner of the publishing company. And he wants to tell Topher in a place where Topher is really happy. And Topher he's not called Topher. He's called something else on the show. I can't remember. Maybe they'll say it in this clip when the saber duel that Topher told us about on the show a couple of weeks ago happens at Galaxy's Edge.
Why don't you ever take my side?
Oh, you have no idea how much I'm taking your side.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah?
Guys. Okay.
It's like at every turn, you want me to fail.
You don't know what you're saying right now, man. I only want what's best for you.
What's best for me? What's best for me? What makes you think you know what's best for me? Because you make more money? Why is it always about that?
You're freaking out, and you don't even know the truth about your own publisher.
I know it does.
Tom, I am your publisher.
That's impossible!
Sorry you had to see this, Joey.
Yes, it's true. Chewie was there for that.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when it gets to that moment when he says, I am your publisher, and they show Topher there, it's just like, here it comes. Yeah, he did a great job with that.
I think it was it Gary Whitta. We had him on the show recently. He was talking, I think it was him that was talking about that scene, and just Mark's like lips and the it's impossible. It's just how crazy over the top it is, but it works. But that "I am your father" is probably the most quoted line in all of Star Wars. Probably certainly more so than even "May the Force be with you." And so that's paid a lot of homage. But the follow up, Luke's "That's impossible," is not done as often.
No, it certainly is not. And you can tell Topher did not phone that in. He gave it his all. He nailed it too. All right, I have one more clip. This is a scene where the family, they're all deflated now because the brothers are fighting, and they're getting on board the Millennium Falcon ride.
Oh yeah,
Smuggler's Run.
Yeah,
and so they're waiting there, by the chessboard and everything. And it's when they, split you up to go into the Falcon cockpit. And sometimes you'll get added an additional rider who is outside of your party because they are riding alone. And that's a good tip if you actually are going to Disney alone. Always take that solo rider thing because you'll get to the front of the line pretty fast. So, and that solo rider turns out to be Yvette Nicole Brown. Now, I don't know when the memo was passed around Hollywood that said anything slightly nerdy had to have Yvette Nicole Brown show up in it, but it's happening.
Wait a minute, the name's not ringing a bell. Who is this?
Oh, she's a very well-known actress. Got her start in children's television, like teenage television. Drake and Josh. She was on that show for a long time. Do you remember Drake and Josh? No,
I do.
But she was on that show for a while.
Oh, wait, here she is, Yvette Nicole Brown.
Every show. You'll know her right away.
Oh,
She was on Community.
Of course. Yes.
Probably best known for Community.
Yeah, born in East
she's
Cleveland.
Really funny.
Wow.
Really funny. Super likable. Yeah, she's from Ohio. And super likable, a lot of fun. And she does a lot of voice work and animation. And I think wasn't she in The Office that one time when Dwight Schrute quit Dunder Mifflin?
She played his manager at the Staples.
At Staples.
or his coworker at the Staples.
Yeah,
That's right.
And she did not like him at all.
No, she even says, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Very sassy.
I don't like him, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think she was on stage at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim.
Was she really?
Yeah, wasn't she? Wasn't she? Or she was on stage recently for some Star Wars thing. I'm pretty sure she was there for the opening ceremonies at Star Wars Celebration.
Why not?
Yeah. So so it's nerdy. You call her up.
Yeah.
And so here she is encountering Topher and his fighting family as they're boarding the Millennium Falcon ride.
And you're a solo rider?
Oh, yep. I'm a Han solo rider. Just a little Star Wars humor.
Okay. Then the 6 of you are our red team.
Go Red Team! Huh? So, hi. I'm Donna.
I'm Marina, and this is my family by marriage.
Okay, so have you guys done this ride before? We're gonna need 2 pilots, 2 gunners, 2 engineers. Who wants to be what?
She's a ringer.
Connor, why don't you be the publisher?
Oh, well, that's not one of the roles.
Yeah, Tom. Clearly you know nothing about Star Wars.
Oh, really? What does AT-AT stand for? All-Terrain Armored Transport. Who's a loser now?
Who's the loser now?
Yes, one of us.
Oh, man.
So they eventually get on the ride and they put their differences behind them and end up having a good time. So it's worth seeing. It's out there. You can probably watch it on the ABC website or at Hulu. And it's a great show. Lots of fun. And if you're a fan of the Disney parks and Galaxy's Edge, you'll really enjoy watching this one. Because they also go to the cantina and
we were there.
It's a lot of fun. We were there twice. They couldn't kick us out of there.
No.
Family Guy. Family Guy are very well known for Star Wars references throughout the years. Entire episodes dedicated to telling their version of the Star Wars original trilogy. When are they going to do the prequels?
Oh,
Family
got to
Guy.
do the prequels.
Family Guy. It's been up for
Actually, I might enjoy the sequels more than the prequels on Family Guy.
Perhaps. Well, Robot Chicken does a lot of sequel parodies and stuff. I don't know why they're not jumping on board that with Family Guy. They're still mired in the prequel era. This is from the first episode of the new season of Family Guy.
Oh, we got a new Family Guy.
And this reference is mired in the prequels because it's a flashback to the year 1999 and the summer of the release of episode 1.
I don't think I like what I saw earlier.
Oh, was it The Phantom Menace, which also came out this same year? Yeah, what a mess.
There it is. So that almost seems like a Family Guy reference from 1999, but that's from the first episode of the new season. Still
what a mess.
Still beating that episode 1 hate drum.
Oh, man.
But you do you, Seth MacFarlane. You do you. Here's another one from Loot. Have you heard of the show Loot?
That's the Maya Rudolph show, right? It's on Apple TV or something.
Yes, Apple TV Plus. Don't forget the Plus.
Oh, sorry. Everything's. By the way, next week we're going to reveal Rebel Force Radio Plus.
Plus. Maybe we should call our Patreon that. RFR Plus.
Get on board.
Yeah. Because it's always better when there's a plus sign. The human brain is just naturally wired to know this, that the plus sign means better and best. All right, here we go. Here's an email from, I don't have the name. Patreon member and longtime listener, Dave from Tampa.
Hey, Dave.
He tells us to check out Loot Episode 8, Spades Night on Apple Plus. Stars Ron Funches and Mia Rudolph. They're planning a potentially awkward family visit when the Star Wars reference occurs.
Loot.
Hey, do you think it would be cool if I stopped by and said hi to everyone?
You serious? Yes, of course. It would be so cool.
Are you sure? I don't want to impose.
Girl, impose? It's your family. Plus, I'll be there to protect you from any shade, You'll be my baby Yoda, and I'll be your Mandalorian.
Oh, that would be so fun. I don't know who those people are, though.
You don't know Grogu? Din Djarin?
No.
Okay, well, we gotta fix that. I can drive us out there, get you up to date on the family, and we can watch both seasons of The Mandalorian on 8 times speed.
Okay.
On 8 times speed.
Well, that would be wild, huh? Gosh. You be my baby Yoda, I'll be your Mandalorian. I need that like sign up in the house, somewhere, like one of those quaint like wood signs where it's painted, you be my baby Yoda and I'll be your Mandalorian.
Oh man, a sign would be good, or maybe like a song by Jason Aldean or something, or Garth Brooks. Yeah, that would be great.
You be my baby Yoda. I'll be your Mandalorian. Yeah,
that's great. And all I have to do is suggest it, and Jason starts singing.
Yeah,
so it's so easy to put the nickel in the chimp. Okay, I love your voice too, by the way.
Oh, where are you putting that nickel? Where's that nickel?
The chimp has he's got a cup. He holds that tin cup. Oh my God. Yikes. All right, here's loyal RFR listener Dallas Kennard. He says, I'd like to submit a Star Wars reference for your pop culture segment. This is from New Kids in the Town, the 3rd episode of the 3rd season of Superman, the animated series.
Oh my gosh, that's a deep cut. That's going back.
This features Clark Kent's buddy Kenny and the evil Brainiac in a bar. I mean, that almost sounds like the beginning of a joke. All right. Clark Kent's buddy Kenny and Brainiac go into a bar.
What the hell?
But this is from Dallas, and this is Superman, the animated series.
All right.
Here it is. Whoa. Check out Darth Vader. Kid Pasa, man. Take a wrong turn at Tatooine.
That didn't go very well for him.
Kenny, you idiot.
You killed Kenny.
You bastard Brainiac. So that's how that went down. Kenny, never, ever say anything to Brainiac, especially if he's been drinking. Don't call him Darth Vader.
Apparently not.
Hey,
Great.
Darth Vader.
Great series, though. Superman, the animated series. Oh, wow.
A lot of people are talking about Reservation Dogs. Dogs.
That's a hit right now.
Show is produced by Taika Waititi. So another possible Star Wars connection. I should say possible. Taika directed an episode of The Mandalorian, and he voiced IG-11. So he's firmly within the Star Wars family. But I still have reservations about whether or not his film will actually go into production. But that has nothing to do with Taika Waititi and everything to do with my lack of confidence in Lucasfilm these days.
No reflection on Taika, just Lucasfilm.
Well, maybe a little on him, because people didn't really love that Thor, the 4th one.
Oh, yeah. I've yet to watch that.
Yeah.
It's on my watch
you know,
list.
Critical response to that might influence whether or not his series goes in front of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Hey, that's neither here nor there. I would love to see Star Wars return into the theaters. I don't care who's directing the movie, Taika Waititi or whoever. Let's get the train going again, for crying out loud. Here's an idea. You got Jon Favreau in the house. Make a Mandalorian movie. How hard is it for you guys to figure this out? All right.
I think, hey, didn't we'll follow up if there's any truth to my memory, but I thought I saw Pedro Pascal throwing out Mando movie rumors recently. Did you hear about that?
No, I haven't heard any Mando movie rumors, but I'm just hoping that the event that happens, whatever it is, that brings all of the storylines together from Mandalorian and Ahsoka and what else is in that
Book of
mix?
Boba Fett?
Well, of course, Book of Boba Fett would be in that mix. When it all comes together, I want to see that as a motion picture. And I think Jon Favreau should be the man directing it. So,
yeah.
Not
the
that
team
hard
up.
to figure out.
It's like the Avengers. Avengers assemble. Yeah.
Yeah. And by that point in time, the Disney Plus thing will be firmly established. If it's not already, I think it is. It's
I
been
think
out for
so.
a few years now, and it's rivaling Netflix as far as some reports say, and it's growing and everything. But Reservation Dogs, produced by Taika Waititi, Star Wars reference in here. I don't know anything about the show, so let's just listen.
We ask you to bless this food and the people that cooked it. We know our friend Delora here is having a hard time right now as her grandma transcends into that place in the great beyond. In a galaxy far, far away.
Well, you can tell.
What I know about
he was feeling the moment.
He was.
And then once he dropped into the Star Wars reference, he knew by the time he said galaxy, he had gone too far.
It reminds me of that great Seinfeld where Jerry ends up quoting Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the eulogy of Spock, where and they think it's such a beautiful sentiment. He's like, yeah, of course, Star Trek II. He's not really dead as long as we remember him. But Reservation Dogs, I've heard about that. It's a show that focuses on Native Americans growing up on the res, as they call it, the reservation. And everything I've heard about that show also says it's real good, fun show.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but the clip I watched looked really well done. The 30 seconds I watched of it was spectacular for the Star Wars reference.
Right.
Here's Lindsay Allard reaching out saying, hey, guys, not sure if anyone brought this up. Here's a reference from Orville on Disney Plus and Hulu, Season 3, Episode 2. So speaking of Star Trek, here is my favorite Star Trek series, Orville. And Seth MacFarlane making some sort of Star Trek reference.
Star Wars reference.
I'm sorry. Again, it's the show that stole Star Trek, and they're bringing Star Wars into it. I mean, who isn't getting confused?
We're about to enter unexplored space. I know you're all just as excited as I am, so let's give this everything we got, and may the Force be with you.
Is that Seth as the captain, I assume, giving a little pep talk?
little pep talk before they blast off into space in their Star Trek-esque show.
I haven't watched Orville, and that's another one that is highly recommended. Not just friends recommend it to me, but all of my my apps that I have connected to my Apple TV are like, you would like the Orville, and I need to check it out. And as you said, you think it's more Star Trek than any of the current Star Trek stuff that's out there.
It definitely has next generation vibes.
Yeah.
But I have not seen it beyond maybe the first 1.5 seasons. So
it's on Disney Plus now.
Right. And there's some episodes from that first season I would definitely rewatch. I mean, there was this great episode that was such a commentary on social media and likes and dislikes. And it was very, very interesting in the way they did it and how the society sort of used the thumbs up, thumbs down method to determine a lot of things that happen with you in your life.
Yeah.
And it's a little, oh man, it's really totalitarian and scary, but a commentary on social media, which I thought was very apropos. Wayback Machine. We're going way back to the film Raising Arizona. Arizona. Yeah.
That is way back.
Nick Cage.
Put him on the map.
Yeah. Gosh, I remember the girl I took to see that movie, and I enjoyed that movie. But this is from
Did
Ted.
you actually watch the movie?
I watched the movie. I watched it. You made out during Schindler's List? Seinfeld reference. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from Ted. Ted says, wow, I sent this almost a year ago to the day. Listening to the latest RFR, and you mentioned you'll be doing an expanded pop culture segment soon. Well, here we are. Maybe this snippet from Raising Arizona can make it in. Or maybe it was skipped when I originally sent it because it's 35 years old. Either way, I'm throwing it out there again. May the force be with you, Ted. So Ted, no, it's just, sometimes things slip through the cracks. If it's a good reference, we run with it. And this obviously was good enough because I'm seeing it here on our show rundown and in this segment of Star Wars and pop culture. So whenever you're ready, Swank, hit it.
What was he wearing? A dinner jacket. What do you think? He's wearing his damn jammies. Child was wearing his jammies. You happy? What did the pajamas look like? I don't know. They were jammies. They had Yodas and shit on them.
That's really funny.
Oh, what year did that movie come out?
Well, according to Ted, it came out 35 years ago. And according to my memory, the girl I was dating, it was probably around 1987.
Okay.
So let me punch in Raising Arizona. And 1987.
Oh,
Bing!
you guessed it. Ding, 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 ding. We got a winner.
I use association to bring back memories, and Raising Arizona is one of them. I remember liking that movie a lot. I didn't remember the Star Wars reference, but hearing him mention Yoda jammies, I think of John Popper, the lead singer and harmonica player and blues traveler, the great John Popper. He put out an Instagram post a couple of Christmases ago, and he was standing outside on his driveway watching his daughter ride around in her little car she got for Christmas, and he was wearing Baby Yoda jammies.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
All right, one last one. Cobra Kai. Everyone likes Cobra Kai.
Oh, I love Cobra Kai. We watch it in our house. Yeah. We're big fans.
And so this is from season 5, which I believe is the latest season of Cobra Kai, episode 9, and Star Wars reference. Check it out.
Want to play some D&D? These, there they are. These noobs were entering light and exiting night. Miyagi fangs? Oh, this is a trap. Oh, you Admiral Akbar'd me.
So here, so many people let us know about this, and one of those people is Sief Zaki. I'm sorry, I probably butchered your name, but he wrote it and said, season 5, episode 9, about 12 minutes in, a bunch of goody kids go to find a former fellow student to get him to confess about something. They get his friend to trick him into opening the door. And then that's when he drops down the, it's a trap, you Admiral Akbar'd me. So I guess they were showing up for the D&D campaign, and so he let him in.
I haven't seen this episode yet.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no doubt.
There will be D&D coming up in season 5 of the Karate Kid spinoff, Cobra Kai. And I will watch Cobra Kai. It seems like a cool show. That clip also included some Metallica lyrics from Enter Sandman, Exit Light, Enter Night. What little I've seen of it, I like it.
Oh, I tell you what, man, as far as these, nostalgia trips, these, reboots or what have you, I have no reservations of saying that Cobra Kai is, if not the best, one of the best. It is amazing in that it is self-reverential without being over the top about it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it introduces new characters, but pays great respect to the established characters. It balances it all just so well. It really is, I think, just a master class in how to pull off what so many franchises and properties have tried to do over the last, dozen years. It's great.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Chewie, get us out of here!
You can't help but watch Cobra Kai and wish that Pat Morita had lived to be on it, because they have found a way to just squeeze every possible guest appearance into the show from the 3 Karate Kid films.
Yeah.
And they also, even though Pat, of course, is passed on, they honor him consistently throughout the series. You almost feel like he's still around. But great show. Great Rebel Force Radio as well. Hope you enjoyed the rundown of all these references that we have to our beloved Star Wars showing up in hopefully one of your favorite current TV shows. It's always a thrill when you get a little Star Wars reference, especially when it's one of those obscure ones and you're like, I get it. I know what they're throwing down.
Yeah. Keep them coming in. Thank you, everyone who sent us suggestions at show@rebelforceradio.com. There's more I haven't even got to yet. So
we're still sitting on some.
Yeah. But I mean, we've been doing this segment forever on the show, and I'm so happy that everyone enjoys it and contributes, and you guys are watching it, so I don't have to, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Please join us over on Patreon if you're able. rebelforceradio.com. That's the email. It's the website. Click on the Patreon banner, or just go to patreon.com/rebelforceradio, and you'll be taken to a list of options for you. Everything from the weekly full show video. If you're an all access member, that's right, the podcast that you're listening to right now, you could be watching in all of its glory. Exclusive links delivered to you weekly so that you can enjoy the video version of the podcast. That's an option for you if you are an all-access member. But as we talked about earlier in the show, exclusive podcasts that you can't just, go over to Spotify or go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to. They're only available if you're a Patreon member. Things like the Q&A, Babu Freaks, Clone Wars Declassified, Remastered. So you can kind of cut through all of the dated references and really get to the meat of those analyses. Filoni Files, archive highlights, and so much more. Also, we are in the thick of our Andor after shows. We're taking live calls, and if you are a member of our Patreon community, you will get moved to the head of the queue. We'll make sure that we get your call in when you call us up and offer your comments and thoughts about Andor. And it is, as we said, a community of just some of the greatest Star Wars fans in the galaxy. So please do join us over at patreon.com/rebelforceradio. As Jimmy said, $1 gets you in the door and gets you all those exclusive podcasts. How can you say no to just $1? YouTube. YouTube is a free repository of some of our most classic bits. Of course, all of our live after shows are archived there, so you can check those out. Going back multiple seasons now of The Mandalorian. We've got the Bad Batch in there. We've got the Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi. Every episode chronicled with a detailed post-show analysis with phone calls and comments. It's really it's great. It's like a time capsule. It takes you back to the moment that those episodes dropped, and plus classic interviews. So with people like Mark Hamill, that's over there in on the RFR YouTube channel, parodies and bits and all the great moments that you love from Rebel Force Radio going over the past 15 years. Also, new full show audio gets dropped every week. It's like a little premiere. You can, if you're available and you want to hang out with some other Rebel Force Radio listeners and be some of the first to hear the latest RFR, you can do that over on the YouTube channel. So please like and subscribe today.
If you like to talk, fun. I pop in on those every once in a while too.
I do too once in a while.
People are
yeah.
chatting and they're commenting, and I'll throw up a chut or something.
Chut.
Let people know I'm there.
But we love to hear from you, so please talk to us in between shows. The email address, show@rebelforceradio.com. The voicemail line, love voicemails, more voicemails, 708-320-1737. That's 708-320-1737, 1RFR. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us on those channels as well. But above all, if you want to help us out here, just keep listening and tell all your friends about us. Rebel Force Radio. We are available on your podcatcher of choice, streaming 24/7, Apple Podcasts, Jedi News, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Audible, Samsung, Pandora. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find us on Rebel Force Radio, and you'll find us also next week on RFR. Don't forget, Andor After Show, Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be there. Episode 5 going to drop, and you'll get our hot, fresh takes along with other listeners. And then, of course, the regular RFR will also be dropping. So we'll see you next time. Love you all so much. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
Oh, and to our friends in Florida and along the East Coast, thoughts and prayers with you. And if we can be a little distraction from some of the real life goings on, we're happy to do that. And all the best to you. We love you. We'll see you next time. And remember,
the Force will be with you. Always.
Rebel Force Radio.
And I was like, baby, oh, like baby. No!